Well, good afternoon, Lydia.
Hi, Sarah. How are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's good to see you this year.
Good to see you this year too, and hopefully everything goes well this year. So we do
Fingers are
have
crossed.
some. I know we do have some great information. We've been talking about forbearances over the last 6 months,
Months.
months and months, and they have changed. So give us the update that you have so far.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And that's one thing, Lydia and I were just talking about. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to forbearance. So we're doing our very best to keep up on the data, but it is changing very quickly and very regularly. Anytime you have a question, always want to find the most recent up-to-date information because it really is almost changing minute to minute. Speaking of those changes, I have a couple of things to talk about. One is the timelines. Now, Lydia and I have been talking about how end of the year, get your calls made, right? And, we hit the end of the year, we had that. Now, it went a very sneaky way. CFPB actually very subtly put on their website that they have extended the forbearance timelines. It says if your loan is owned by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and we will post where you can find out who owns your loan. Now there's no more deadline at this time that you can. It says no deadline at this time, so there's no deadline, but we do have FHA, VA, USDA. All those fall under that FHA guideline. That is the new deadline is February 28th. Now, we know that, so we're going to keep watching it and keep watching what the CFPB says. So we'll just, that's where we stand at this time. And we are very happy about it because, as we know, COVID continues and we like having options for the struggling borrowers.
Right. But just be aware that if you are going to do a forbearance, make sure you know what you're getting into. That's probably the biggest thing, right?
Yes, it is not forgiveness. It does need to be repaid, and there's a number of ways you can do that. Yep. And so speaking of the, kind of forbearance numbers, where people are, how that looks, the second thing I want to talk about is basically, there was really no changes in the forbearance numbers the last 3 weeks of the year. And even if you look at, so we're still around that 2.7 million borrowers, or roughly it's about 5.53% of mortgages are in forbearance. Even if you look at all of November and December, we really pretty much stayed flat. There were a bunch of exits, there were some, re-entries. So we really were right around that 5.5%. And what's interesting is, so at the very end of 2020, there were, the exits slowed, and so did the forbearance and initial plans or entries. They slowed down. I think that was the holidays, which makes sense. But where it was actually the initial forbearance requests dropped to match the all-time low since COVID started on March 15th, or since the whole plan started being available at that time. So hopefully the latest stimulus will provide, some more help for those struggling borrowers. There was no particular forbearance program in the newest stimulus or the newest, program, but it's, right. It still continues. So some of the things that I think are really interesting is when you look at it by stage, that's kind of more telling than just those overall numbers. So borrowers initially are entering in their initial stage or re-entering after an exit both decreased. So that, it's good to have decreases in that initial stage. However, borrowers that are on forbearance extension, they typically are about 180 days, and you can extend to a second 180 days. Right. Those that are on that extension, it's about 80% of all loans in forbearance. That did increase. So that's one of those, is getting them on a plan and getting them, kind of back in a situation where they're not struggling. And right. That kind of leads me to the third thing I want to talk about is, kind of what are we looking at when people do exit their forbearance plan? And, we do have a lot of data on that. So basically from June 1st through December 27th, we have a lot of info on those exits, and about 45% of those borrowers are current on their payments. It's like 30% stayed current, and then the other 15 got back current upon exit. The group that we need to pay attention to is the 13% of borrowers who left their plan without a loss mitigation plan in place. You know, all the others in the percentages, they either refinance, sold, deed in lieu, loan mod, something like that. But that 13% that are exiting, that's the number. Those are the people to watch, because they just don't have a plan, right? Like, what are they going to do? And, you know, a lot of experts do believe that those struggling borrowers are more likely to sell than to go through foreclosure, because we have such high equity, because prices have gone up. And this is going to actually benefit both the struggling borrowers as well as struggling buyers to find a place. So the borrowers, you know, they can exit. It's not going to hurt their credit to sell a house. You know, and then you look at like the buyers, they need more options anyway. And, you know, you and I were just talking about any additional inventory will be a good thing. Yesterday, you told me yesterday in Maricopa County, there were 4,100 single family homes available.
Yep. That's it. 41. It was 4,105 is what it was. Crazy.
So it's like half that now, right?
Yeah.
That was yesterday. And you know, and like in all of ARMless, there's only 6,000. And even, and this is not just a local Arizona challenge. Nationwide, there's only 419,000 available single family houses across the country.
That's crazy.
That's like nothing.
Right.
So we know that there's, you know, we're going to be watching it because we want to see what happens too. And I know everything we've been talking about, and Lydia, you're like, hey, these servicers, there's stuff going on, and you were doing some investigating. So tell us what you saw.
So all of a sudden this week, 2 days, I got 8 inspections and 2 BPOs. And it's been increasing since July. So, you know, I called you up and said, hey, I'm starting to get some inspections way back in July. And it was just a few every week. And then it started becoming a few every day. And now it's, I mean, like I said, between yesterday and today, 8 inspections and 2 BPOs, which is crazy. So after doing a little bit of an investigation, found out that one of the servicing customers is an iBuyer, and an iBuyer is those that come in and offer less money to the homeowner, and they usually try to market to people with high equity because they want to give them something and they want to make something for themselves. So they're basically large fix and flippers is what they are. They but they're more willing to work with the consumer as far as post possessions and things like that. And that's what you and I talked about.
That's key. I think, you know, they were offering post possession before post possession was as common as it is now. And I know a lot of times, I mean, we called any post possession, pre-possession, it was like a 4-letter word in real estate.
I know. You know? Exactly. And they were the ones willing to do it. So a lot of those are increasing. They basically are hiring servicing companies to be their eyes and ears, to watch the process, either as their people have questioned, you know, how much is my house worth, or in the middle of the negotiations, or even at the end of the negotiations, like we're closing next week, they want someone to run out, take a look at everything, make sure it looks okay, and that kind of thing. So so they're basically paying a servicer to do that. And that comes to the point of Open Door is one of those iBuyers that just ended up going public, right?
Yep, December 21st.
So like they ended yeah. So they've got oodles of money. How much money did they make with that?
$1 billion.
Yeah.
So like $1 billion.
Yeah. So you could spend the money on that. I mean, they're very smart and they're very strategic on how they're doing things. So and they are helping some homeowners who absolutely have to sell. Now, I always, Sarah and I love to help homeowners as well. We do have investors that will also buy, that will probably give you more than an iBuyer would, because of course they're trying to look at their bottom line, not your bottom line. But there are options for people right now, especially because we do have equity. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that people don't understand is they don't know how much their house is worth. And that's why it's really important to just contact us and we can tell you what it's worth, and then let's put a game plan together. Either get that forbearance paid off, or get a plan put together with your servicing company, or sell it or rent it, or there's all kinds of options for people right now.
There's
And
a lot of
the
options.
lots of options. The one thing that you and I both have always talked about over the months on this is, don't panic sell, and don't panic. We have time, but you need to be swiftly about it. You can't just wait to the last minute and say, oh, I'm going to make my decision. You have to really figure out, the sooner you get with somebody to talk about what your options are, the more options you have.
Definitely.
So,
and as quickly as it's changing, as you know, we don't know what's going to be available when, and so it's
right.
just, you know, time is of the essence. Let's see what's available to help.
Yep, exactly. Well, that's all I've got today, Sarah, and it's ever
It's
changing,
awesome.
so we will have new information next week.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. So
Well,
thank you so much.
thanks,
And
Sarah.
I
Have a
love
good
this
week.
extra info. That's amazing. So
Yeah,
thanks so
yeah.
much for sharing that.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm super excited, and like I said, get with one of us if you have any questions, and we'll at least give you the options, and then you can make your decision. So we'll see you
Definitely.
next week, Sarah.
All right, sounds good. See you later, Lydia. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.